Don't worry about the language. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad that everybody kind of got in a little bit early. I just did this on the, on the fly. So, that's how I am. I'm just kind of random and had thoughts, and I thought, you know what? We're going to talk about a topic today, which is going to be controversial, in my opinion. I think more so on the side of women. But I want to give a chance for people to join in. So make sure you guys jump in, and if you can, share it on your social media, Twitter, whatever it may be. What I don't want, though, is for the show to be a reflection of some kind of red pill movement or MGTOW or any of that stuff. I think all of these counter-gender movements, like anti-gender movements, are a bit out there. There are people with trauma that, that want to jump on the bandwagon because, they feel like, they're angry and they need to pay back people. That's not what this is going to be about. I definitely do. I think, and to be quite frankly, I do think that it will be. And by the way, because of the nature of the show, if you are joining the live stream, I'm going to need to see your face before you jump in on the live stream. I'm not going to bring you on to the live stream unless I can see your face in the back channel. Just a word of advice, because I don't know what's out there. I know this topic makes people get angry and it triggers them and they want to jump on and do dumb things. So Bubbly, I see you backstage, but unfortunately you're going to have to show your face before we get on. I do have a link to the show, and as I develop and get on, I'll allow people to come on. But remember, I don't want to have, if you are a sister or a woman, I'm not going to have a shouting match, right? We're not going to talk over each other. If you want to have a conversation, that's why the link is, is pinged there. It's pinned to the top, but it's about having a conversation, right? And that's one of the key differences between men and women in general. Women tend to be a little bit more, emotional with these things, and men tend to be in short-term thinkers, whereas men tend to be a little bit more long-term and a bit more logical in the process. So before I get some of the guests that are jumping on in the back channels, I do want to lay this out first of all. So let's talk about what actually the subject matter is before we get into it. I had to put all these disclaimers, and this is not all the view of all Muslim men. This is not a scholarly view. This is just my subjective take on it. What I see that's happening out there, and what is my advice to the fellas, right? I mean, this is really what it is mainly. It's not really about, it's not really about hating on women. That's not what it is. But it's a difference in mindset. So let's get right into it. So what do I mean by the modern woman? I'm not saying a woman that's born today or, or something like that. There's a mentality today. And when I say modern woman, I'm talking very specifically about women that have been under the influence of these radical leftist feminist ideas. The reason why I'm not using the modern man is because, for the most part, men have largely retained the similar identity that we have had for a very long time. Men generally want to be dominant. Men want to be earners. Men want to be physically fit. Men want to be, they want to be alpha in the most part. Like, men have traditional roles. We're expected to provide. We're expected to work. We're expected to prove our worth, right? This is generally something that has been there from the beginning of time. While the role of men hasn't really switched too much. But the role of women has definitely switched up. And then you can go look up, and a very simple experiment to understand this is look at your great-grandfather, your grandfather, your father, and yourself. If you're a father or a man, look at yourself. And look at, and you won't see much of a difference. Maybe I would say the older generation was much more disciplined, maybe had a harder life, sure. But the roles were, or the expectations were generally the same. However, when we look at women today, women, their role is completely changed. It's no longer what it used to be. You are not, if you're a woman, you're not like what your mother used to be. And your mother is not like what her mother used to be. And your grandmother is not what her mother used to be, right? These are very different roles. And they have severe effects on not only the female psyche, but also the family unit and like the community itself. And I don't think we can say the same about the role of men. I think men have generally tend or had the same expectation. So that's where we're coming from today. And this modern ideology, this idea of hyper-individualism and extreme leftism, and the idea that we can do whatever we want that feels good, and that means that it is right. That's the problem, right? Because emotions, because it feels good, doesn't mean that it's right. And individualism is not always a winner. It's not always something that should be embraced. This is the problem, right? I mean, it's part of the problem. And it impacts the way that some of the societies are now, how they're being affected in terms of marriage, in terms of happiness, in terms of goals, in terms of outcome, right? In terms of their religion, which is the most important part. But I'm talking about this is because the reality is that I am coming from a place where I genuinely fear for our sisters that are being influenced by this. I don't really particularly care what non-Muslim women do. That's their business. Their issues are larger than just leftist and feminism. Their issue is tawheed lillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And becoming a Muslim. That's primary. So I could care less what, a non-Muslim woman does. Not my prerogative, not my focus. But when you have a person who professes and claims La ilaha illallah, and they profess to be a Muslim, and they understand a certain Islamic tenets and culture that we have, and then you combine that with this modern woman attitude. I can do anything. I don't need a man. There's no patriarchy to blame for everything. The critical theories, everything is to blame. The patriarchy is to blame for pedophilia. I mean, so many crazy things that you will come out there, and you mix that with what Islam is supposed to be teaching you, what is supposed to be a fundamental, and it's like water and oil. You can't mix. They're both separate. There's no interlapping with this, because the premise and the goal and the objective of this modern secular movement is entirely different than what the goal of Islam is. And so it's not going to work. And so that's where we are right now. That's why I'm speaking about this. And what I do want to do is, to preface this, is the reason why I'm also doing this is because there's been a record number of older sisters who are now complaining that they cannot find good men. And they're blaming men for the fact that they're unmarried. And the reality is that when you've been going through this process and you're not able to get married, and it's not one man, it's not two men, it's not three men, there have been come up to you and it doesn't work out. It's not about, one divorce, two divorce, three times divorced, maybe it's time to self-reflect and not say that all men are narcissists, or all men are evil, or men have corrupt natures, or they can't handle me, or I'm above their level, I'm a 10, I deserve the best in the world. Maybe that needs to scale back a little bit in order for you to be married, because there's a worth here, right? Men are worth something inherently, and women are worth something inherently. And what are these qualities? What are these things, these attributes, or of a worthy person in a particular gender, right? What do you bring to the table? And right now we're seeing women in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s that are struggling to get married and even giving up on the idea of getting married. And this is extremely dangerous because, and this is largely also impacting men. But here's the reality, okay? And I hate to be blunt here, but this is just the reality. As men get older, generally, their value they become worth more. They're worth more, not because somehow one is stronger than the other, and this is not what I'm speaking of. I'm talking about in terms of value. Because when men are born, we're born nothing. We don't have any inherent value to anybody. We have to grow up and we have to prove ourselves to society. We have to get educated. We have to get a job. We have to economically move up. We have to provide worth. We have to prove that we can get married. A woman, by virtue of being a woman and her beauty in natural state, is worthy already. A man is going to pursue a woman because of what she can provide of being a woman, meaning that she's beautiful and she can provide children, she can provide support, her nurturing nature. These are things that women inherently have as a species, as a gender, right? Whereas men, we have to acquire these things. And as men generally progress in life, it means that we're becoming more wealthier, we're becoming wiser, we're becoming, men are aging better. And the value of men goes up because women admire men who are stable. They are attracted to this, right? They want men who have jobs, who have income, who are mature, who can be a stable leading figure, right? Whereas when women get older, men generally desire who want to get married. They're generally successful men, and normal high value men are desiring a woman who's going to complement them, who's going to give them children, who's going to make a home for them. And when you get older as a woman, unfortunately, and let's be honest, beauty is also a big thing. But as you get older as a woman, these things go down, right? So the value of the pool becomes much smaller for you, and as it was as opposed to when you're 18. When you're 18, women have more control and more ability to get married in a larger pool than men do. As an 18-year-old kid, I had nothing. I didn't have an education. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have much to offer someone besides, hey, look, I'm trying, right? And so a woman who I was potentially marrying had a lot more options. She had older men, she had middle men, she had rich men, she had model. Anybody could be an option for her. But as she gets older, that pool becomes smaller and smaller because men generally desire certain things, right? And those things, those qualities are generally found in women that are younger. And so this is why it's becoming a problem. Men are not getting married, but men will always have the options. It's just the way nature has worked, right? Unfortunately, this is the way Allah has made it, that men just don't expire as quickly as men do in terms of desirability, right? We just level up in terms of if we are progressive. If we're deadbeats, then obviously we're going to remain the way that we are, but the chance to level up is always there for a man. He can groom himself, he can get to the gym, he can get a better job, he can produce business, he can do many different things. But unfortunately for the sisters, that's just not the way men view this. And so that's kind of where I'm at here with this in my thinking. And now I'm not saying I'm right. This is just what I'm kind of exploring here and what I'm noticing. So with that being said, I do have the link to join the panel pinned in the comment section here. Now, as a reminder, I'm going to bring people up. If you join and man or woman, remember, we're having a conversation. I don't want to be speaking over each other. I don't want to be yelling at each other. This is not a place to vent and rant. And, we're going to have a conversation. We're grown people, right? We have manners. We have, the ability to control ourselves. Sabr, right? So we're going to have this conversation. So if you feel compelled to say something, by all means, but let's not be, it's not a crossfire. Right. Okay. So with that being said, I have somebody backstage, my brother Ibn Mia Al-Buna. Let me bring him on. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, brother. Assalamu alaikum. How you doing?
Walaikum salam. Alhamdulillah. I'm doing good. I was just wondering, do you think that modern day feminism has led to a sort of identity crisis with a lot of women in the West and stuff like that?
Absolutely. Let's look at this. You want to be a Muslim and have a certain core value. And when you're a Muslim woman growing up, you're taught the stories of the Anbiya. And let's be honest, Ibrahim alayhi salam is the patriarch, right? I mean, there's no question about that, right? He is the patriarch. We see the stories of things, and women who were obedient, and the Quran mentions this as well too. Good women who are obedient women, who are submissive women. And this is not a negative thing, by the way. But when you're grown up, or you grow up hearing these things, and then you automatically go to college, and you're taught that, wait a minute, no, you don't need men. You don't need the other gender. You don't need to have a family. You don't need to respect the authority. And this is also a key word, authority. Because for a Muslim, whether you're a man or a woman, authority is there. It's in different forms, but just like women have men above them as an authority, men have their Amir, the Umara, as authority. And the Amir have the Khalif as the authority. And the Khalif has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the authority. There is a successional chain here, right? There is a hierarchy, right? And we shouldn't have a problem with that. But when you get to these colleges, this hierarchy is challenged, right? It's now, and so that's confusing, right? Because you can say, well, wait a minute, I don't need to be, mindful of the way I speak. I don't need to segregate myself from men. I'm equal to them. I don't need to, it begins a challenge to everything. And so, of course, I would imagine that this poses a conflict in morality. Mm-hmm. I mean, along with many other things, just one example, but yeah, I would say, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's because, especially for our sisters who come to the West and are born in immigrant families, they're taught one way of manner and living and stuff by their parents and their families from Islam and everything. But then when they start trying to combine this, when they go into maybe a public school or into a public university where they're taught all about freedom and doing whatever you want and hedonism and stuff like that, it causes again, like an identity crisis where they don't know what they should do, if they should maybe rely on more what they feel like doing, or if they want to adhere to a higher power, or if they themselves feel that their desires should be the higher power, like what Surah 45 verse 23 to 24 says. Yeah, and I think that this is a lot to do with hierarchy, a lack of a good sense of devotion to something above yourself leads to an overall sense of confusion for people. And that's something that's very missing with a lot of people in the West, because it's majority secular. There's a lot of Christians, of course, but it is very irreligious. So I think that a lack of hierarchies within a person's lifestyle, or I guess psychological, social, whatever, that leads to confusion. Yeah.
No, I would definitely agree, and I think that this is part of the problem. I would say that hyper-individualism has led to this because, we as Muslims have a community or a communal background, meaning that we implement things and do things for the benefit of society. This is the idea of Sharia law, the idea of familyhood, parenthood, the idea of brotherhood, sisterhood. These things are meant to protect society. So we don't think that, I'm just going to do what I'm doing for myself alone. The selfish attitude that some of the secular mindset brings to people, the notion that everything is subjective. There is no objective truth anymore. This is highly problematic, right? That who told you that? Why can't a woman lead prayer? Why can't a woman, essentially, why can't she be the leader of the household? Why can't she? Who says that a woman has to cover her aura? Why is her chest different than a man's chest? Right? These kinds of ideas that progress in this form of thinking is absolutely problematic, and I think it stems, or it's rooted in this idea of this hyper individualism that it's predicated on the notion that your emotions are automatically correct. And the Quran mentions this, right? It talks about people who are Ahlul Hawa, the people who are people of desires. They worship their desires. They have not submitted completely because they have taken their desires as their Lord. And that's precisely what is happening here, right? And so I think when you have that mindset, you're going to progressively have other You're going to have other extreme movements, whether that be Western feminism, whether it be racism, whether it be MGTOW or red pillism, right? The hating of women and I mean, all this idea. This is coming in reaction where they've made their emotions the center of what is right and what is wrong. And I think that is where we're finding this problem, where really a Muslim should be grounded in the parameters of whatever what Islam sets forward. So absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think it's a great conversation, a great point. Is there anything else you want to add, brother?
Yeah, just I guess one more thing before the other person. What do you have like any agreements with the red pill movement in and of itself, its ideology?
Which one in particular?
Oh, isn't there only one? Just the general
No,
red pill.
I mean, are you talking about feminism or are you talking about secularism? Like, what exactly you mean? In what movement?
I guess the way red pill views modern day third wave feminism. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like I would say that there are certain things in feminist ideas and circles that I agree with. There are certain things in the red pill circles that I agree with. But I would say while making that comment that there's more harm than good, right? The outcome, the ultimate outcome, is something that I don't agree with, and that is the reality. So yeah. I would say, but again, these are counter extremes to what people, based on their emotions. They've gone through something. There's some trauma. There's something that happened to them, and because of that, they're responding to the problem in an extreme fashion, and that's causing them to rely on hate, disdain, animosity, right? And this is no way to progress, right? So, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on, brother. I'm gonna go on to the next person. So I appreciate you coming on. Jazakumullah khair.
Alaikum. Yeah.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. All right. Now, before we move on to the next guest or caller, whatever you want to say, there's an idea here that I want to preface all this by too as well, to kind of highlight again. This is not a gender war. This is a war of ideologies, right? And these ideas of feminism, red pillism, racism, whatever it is, criticalism, all of these things are they're manifestations of this Western thought, this postmodern Western thought of hyper-individualism and everything becoming subjective. And so it's not simply just talking about this, but in context of the show, this has a particular effect on women and men who are Muslims, and I feel that this is why there's a growing number of Muslim women who are unable to get married. And I think a large part of that, not every one of them, but a large part of them have to do some, be introspective and look inwards and find out maybe some of the ideas that we have right now are contributing to this, and they might be influenced by this. I know where the ideas are coming from. The idea is, do they recognize that? And do some of these men who are low value men, do they realize where this is coming from? Do they realize that they are creating this low value society by tolerating it, by accepting behavior like this? Anyways, so we have another guest. Let me bring them on. All right. Welcome, Claire.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Cool.
Hello. Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a bit late here, but I just thought I'd quickly make a point about feminism being a problem for non-Muslims in the West as well, because it basically destabilizes marriage and destabilizes the family, and I think is the cause of rising crime and chaos.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree feminism is a part of the problem, but I would say that it stems from something else, right? And that the problem is that it's the secular mindset that, and with secularism, you have to be tolerant of the fact that everything is subjective. So if you're going to have that mindset, you can't condemn feminism, right? You can't say, well, because this is if someone comes to you and says, well, feminism is something good for me, who are you to tell me it's not?
Well, I suppose you can say, look, it's causing harm, and the most charitable view you can give have of them is that they don't see the harm of feminism. And I have to admit that as I was younger, you think feminism, what a great idea. Why should women be more equal, blah blah blah. But the thing is, what feminism does is that it only gives men the benefits, if you can call it that, of cheaper sex. Because before feminism, men and women would not have sex with each other before marriage. And feminism made it possible and acceptable to do so. And this is what is causing the chaos of, unstable marriages and falling birth rates. And then, they get upset because then that creates a demand for immigrant labor, and the business classes bring in import cheap labor, and then they complain, and they just don't know how to fix it because it's tied up to their own behavior, and which they won't accept is a cause for of well, everything that they're complaining about, their corrupt
Yeah.
governments, corrupt politicians.
No, I would agree that with respect to feminism itself, specifically feminism, I believe that the low value man has benefited the most from feminism. Men today who are low value and don't respect themselves and who are irreligious can go out now and do whatever with a woman and not have any accountability. They don't have to pay bills. They don't have to be fathers. They don't have to be responsible. They don't have to be held accountable. And so the ultimate benefit, and this is what the saddest thing about feminism is that the trash of society benefits, and the people who are being abused think they're actually winning. They think they're actually progressing. And this is the biggest problem that we have. And ultimately, it's the women and children that suffer the most in this feminist package deal that is happening right now. And I would agree with that if you're speaking in regards to family values and the core of society, the atomic nuclear family. I would agree with you in that regards.
Yeah, and women of this generation, young women, of marriageable age now, will find it harder to find a marriageable man. It just becomes harder because, the good men are very entitled because women throw themselves at them, and they think they can, keep trying before they buy and never buy. And I think it also harms the ability of men and women to bond with each other, because if there are dating websites in the UK called Plenty of Fish. So it's the idea that there's always something better around the corner, and we don't know when the last ferry has left, when the last bus has gone, because people keep thinking that, and women, of course, as you were saying earlier, have a smaller window to get the best kind of husband, and that would be in their 20s. And once they're in their 30s, they're in a hurry, and their behavior becomes, well, uglier and more desperate as they
Right.
want to hurry men into a relationship and marriage,
Yeah.
and
So
this
so we,
poisons relationships between the men and women.
yeah. So you would agree that women are probably better off getting married younger, right? I mean, than
Yeah,
they
yeah,
are right
women
now.
don't know what they want. They think they can, go to university, have a wonderful career, and then eventually find a man, while they are finding themselves in their career. But I don't think we can have it all. And maybe, if we ask women in their 30s and 40s if they have any regrets, the single childless ones who know that they've missed a boat for marriage, maybe they will be honest enough to say, well, I wish I got married. I wish, but it's past for me, and I want to let women of the next generation know that it was a mistake, and time goes faster than you think, and before you know it, you're in your you're in your 30s and 40s.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with the point. Thank you for joining in. I do want to keep moving a little bit, but I appreciate you joining in, and thank you for sharing your thoughts. Great
Thanks for
points, I
having
think.
me. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Thank you very much. With that being, that's a great point that I think that we have to talk about too, is that, are people thinking about getting married now? Do they have that marriage mindset? And I think right now is that there are a growing number of women that have in our community that are being taught that no, go to school, finish your education, get your career, do all of this stuff, and then get married. And the reality is that when we look at this, right, let's just be quite frank here, right? When you're, I think what they define geriatric pregnancy at is at the age 35. So if you are finishing college, building your career, have your masters and all that stuff, which is, by the way, I'm not knocking education. I think all that is great. I mean, it's good to be educated. It's good to be, accomplished in that regards. Excuse me. However, that means if you're getting married by 30, right, you literally have like almost, optimal time. You have a 5-year window now, of to have children. I'm not saying you can't have it afterwards, but it's a high risk pregnancy, right? So that means you have a 5-year window of being able to get married and to have children. I'm sorry, to get married and have children. It just doesn't seem reasonable to me. I'm sorry. And here's the other thing. I do want to kind of extend this, and I would be really curious if I could have more sisters join in, because I want to know, for the ones that are not married and the ones that are looking to get married, right? I want to know, a little bit. I don't want it to be too personal, but I want to know how old they are, and why they think they're not married, and what they're looking for in a spouse. Because I oftentimes think that I hear sisters and I hear people talking about this, and I hear like these unreal standards from, more so, I'm not saying some men don't, but when I hear these unreal expectations, I hear them more from the sisters' sides. Like I hear them saying, he's got to be 6'5", he's got to have a great career, he's got to be looking like this, he has to have a fit body, he has to have a decent income. And when you ask them these things, what are the decent income? I asked one particular sister, what's a decent income? Do you know what the response was? How about this? Anyone in the audience, can you tell me what you think per year the income that they thought was a normal income? Right? Does anyone put it in the audio? In the text. I'm sorry. What age what number? What dollar figure do you think? What salary per year do you guys think that was normal for them? Let me see if I can get one. I don't know if anyone would realize this, but $40,000. Muhammad ad-Din Khuli. The thing is the person I was speaking to in Clubhouse, they thought $200,000 was a median income for a single man that's decent income. Decent income. Now, I would like women who think this as well to think about this for a moment and just run through this exercise. And what's funny is that many of these women themselves don't earn anywhere near this amount. They earn, they've gone to school for like journalism, for marine psychology. They've gone to, this is not what they're, they haven't really chose a career that's going to be, I'm not saying it's not good to be educated, but it doesn't really pay you much money. So she thought, and so the average median income of anybody in the United States of America for a male, or for any black, white, Arab, Pakistani, Indian, doesn't matter what you are, the average median income is about $40,000. Right? That is literally, so if you want a average man, right? That's what you're looking at $40,000. If you're living in a major city, perhaps that goes up to about $60,000, maybe $55,000, something like that. But the quality of life, like I want a Mercedes, I want to have a 4-bedroom house, I want to have 3 kids, these things cost money, right? And what I'm saying is that there's no harm in liking these things, right? However, you have to be reasonable with the standard. Do you know what percentage of men in America earn $200,000 a year by themselves annually? Any idea what percentage of men earn that? It's less than 4% of men in America. That means you're targeting the top 4%. And of that 4%, 0.0000001% is Muslim. Right? Is Muslim. So you are targeting the 1% of the 0.001% of the males out there, and of that are over 200,000, how many of them are 6'2" and have abs? That's even smaller, right? So what are your expectations? You see what I'm saying? This is not something that is real. It's a fairy tale. And if you're chasing something so high value, the unicorn, right? You're chasing this, right? What is the value you are providing? Besides just your looks, what value are you providing to a man who you're trying to marry here? It cannot be money. That man is successful. He doesn't need your money. I guarantee you, if there are any sisters in in a chat right now, I want you to run this experiment and think about this. Or any man out here, any man who's looking to get married. What did you consider a woman's educational background before you got married? I didn't. It didn't even occur to me. Right? It didn't even occur to me because I'm not thinking that way. But I almost guarantee you always a woman was concerned with what educational standard her husband had. She expected that he had a certain level of education, whether it be a GED or a degree or a master's. That's something women will think about. Men could care less about what educational background you have. I guarantee you your potential spouse or your spouse now, your husband, did not ask you how much money are you bringing to the table. They could care less about the things. Why? Because it's our job to do that. We're the ones that think about money and progressing in career. Like, we have to do that kind of thing, right? We're looking for something different. We're looking for a home. We're looking for someone who's going to be a good mother to our children, someone who's going to be pleasant in the house, who's going to admire and appreciate what we do. We're looking for companionship. Women, the reason why they'll mention their accolades, like I have a master's, I have this career, I've done this, I've done that for so many years, I'm involved with this nonprofit. They will start with these things and they think that it's attracting a man. But generally, and I hate to be this blunt here, but most of this is going right over the man. He's zoning out. He doesn't care about this. Maybe sure, later on the back end, it might provide an additional benefit later on. But what he's looking for is, number one, is he attracted to her? Number two, does she fit my lifestyle? Is she someone that I feel pleasant with? Like, I feel like she's going to appreciate what I'm doing? Is she going to help me level up? Is she going to compliment me in that regards? Is she going to, these are things that, this is what men consider, right? They generally, I'm not speaking for all men here, but I'm just, in general, I guarantee you many men who, if they're listening, they're probably nodding their head along with this, saying yes. And my point is that I'm not trying to be like the Debbie Downer here. If you're a sister over 30 and you've got a master's and all, great. I'm not trying to say you can't get married, but what I'm asking you to do is reassess the mindset that you are bringing to a marriage, right? How are you approaching this? Understand what your expectations are versus what is reality. Understand these things. These are, if you can manage the expectations. And also, later on, I'm going to do an episode for the brothers too, managing expectations of a wife, right? There are certain things, right? And so I will tell you this much right now. So I want to definitely look at this comment. So you're saying I'm out of touch. A lot of women want go-getters, a woman who is a boss. So I would say every boss woman needs to be avoided. Because a boss woman is the woman that's going to tell you that she doesn't need no man. She's going to tell you that she prioritizes her career over her family and her husband, right? And this is the kind of thing that they don't want. And generally, men that are looking for a quote-unquote boss woman to get married to, it's because they're too lazy to make their own income. They've been conditioned, and I'm going to be blunt here, they are weak men. They are men that don't have shuja'a, they don't have rajula, they don't have they don't have this the sense of being a provider, being someone who's going to hold it down for their family, right? I'm not saying that a woman can't be a go-getter. She can be a go-getter as long as her man is being the leader. You can have a business at home and you can run it, and a woman can be very much involved. She can do it from home, and she can do these kind of things, or even in an outside setting. But when she gets home, that feminine energy has to come out. If that masculine energy is coming home, and and someone's accepting that, that's a problem, right? That's why a lot of men don't want to get married, because they're thinking like, man, I'm not gonna come home and deal with another woman, a woman who's trying to be a man. I don't want that masculine energy. I deal with that every day outside in the street. When I'm in corporate America, I have to put my foot down and I have to put that game face on. I'm not trying to come home and do the same thing. I'm trying to come home to a woman who appreciates what I do. And by the way, if you men want that, you have to put the effort in. You can't be some broke guy that's happy making $60,000 a year. I'm saying if Allah wills that on you, that's fine, but you have to be trying. You have to be trying. Women appreciate the fact that you're trying to make the difference. You can't be stagnant as a male, right? You have to be constantly trying to level up. That's for the brothers out there. You have to be trying to prove, because unlike women, we don't have inherent value. We have to prove ourselves. We have to go through college, get up, tolerate the masculine environment, tolerate the bullying in school. You have to go out. You have to be physically fit. You have to, deal with the confrontation of society, the expectations. You have to get educated. You have to make money. You have to deal with the stresses of trying to get married, to prove that you can pay mahar, that you can provide for a household, and you have to pay for the weddings, the children, their schooling, their graduation, their marriages, right? You have to be able to do that. And if you're not thinking that way, right? If you're not thinking that way, there's a problem with you. You've been influenced by modernity. You've been influenced by this modern society that tells you that women can pay your bills. You know what? Hold on, before I complete my point. Excellent point. Excellent point. But you know what the problem with this though is, Safi, is that the modern woman will tell you that, oh my God, he's a plumber? Oh my God, no, I have to have someone who's a doctor. I have to have someone who has a master's degree and he has a respectable career. And this is the reason why more and more brothers don't do that, right? They don't, because they know it's not going to get them married. Do you see the problem? And also there's some for themselves as well too. But the thing is that I would agree with you. If you can't do school and you like working with your hands, do it. I did trade for a while too. While I was in school, I took a break from school, explored. I had my own business hanging TVs. And because I enjoyed it, but it was my money. I built that business. And I tell you right now that it was not the most profitable business, but it was mine. Right? But I had to go through that. But what I'm saying though is that it's possible to do it. It's possible to do that, and there's no shame, because at the end of the day, financial stability is one of the strongest attributes a man can bring to a table. Because financial stability is what women look forward to. Why do you think they talk about mahar? Why do you think they look for successful men? Because they equate master's degree, they equate businessmen, they equate positions of power with wealth and stability. And so they're doing that naturally because they need to be taken care of. And there's nothing wrong with that. Allah has made us maintainers and providers. They should be seeking somebody that can provide for them and maintain for them, right? And that's a natural thing. Get over your head that, and if you're a man, get over the idea that, oh my God, I'm gonna have to pay for these things. No, you will have to. You will have to. This is part. If you want a woman to be loyal, if you want her to have her eyes only for you, if you want her to be dependent on you, you will have to do that. But at the same time, I feel that a lot of these brothers don't want to do that because they don't see it being worth it anymore. Because women these days, the modern woman, is taught that a man doesn't mean anything. That a man is just simply a sperm bank. And he's just there to, make you look good. Complete societal requirements. He's your dinner date, right? He's there for the formalities. But in reality, it's just you and yourself. You don't need a man. And so if a man doesn't feel appreciated, he's not going to strive. Us men, if we're not appreciated, we're not going to exceed. We're not going to, or how do I put this? We're not going to dream big, right? We're not going to. We're going to be, because why should we? I can make $50,000 a year, low stress, not be married, live a time of my life, have so much extra income, and not do anything if I'm not appreciated, right? And this is why they fall into not being married, into despising the women that they're, distrusting them, not looking to get married. They fall into zina, right? I mean, not that I'm blaming women for that. No matter what the man's situation is, he shouldn't be doing that. This is haram. He should have self-control. But nonetheless, I'm saying this creates the environment for this. This creates the environment for women to fall into zina as well too, right? But the whole point is that, is that a man needs to feel appreciated and a woman needs to provide that to him. If she doesn't, a man doesn't feel it's worth being married. And this is what I ask sisters all the time. What are you bringing to the table? Don't tell me it's your master's degree. Don't tell me it's your money. Don't tell me it's your looks, right? That's just because a high value man who has things going for him needs more than that. He needs something within your personality. He needs something that is going to make him feel like he's appreciated, that he can build with you, that he feels safe building with you. You know what I mean? That it's not, because, let's be honest here. There's a threat. The power of divorce is something women also have now. And this threat of divorce is something which terrifies many successful men. They want to think twice and thrice about getting married because it's a risk. And is that risk worth it? So put yourselves in the shoes of men. The high value man that you want, right? Who's going to be kind to you, going to be an alpha male, who's going to be a provider, who's going to be a leader, who's going to be a practicing Muslim, right? All these things that you want, right? Put yourself in their shoes. What are you offering that man? Are you ready to cook their meals? Are you ready to be submissive and obedient to them? I'm not saying it in a negative way, in a loving way, right? In a workable way, right? Are you willing to do these things? And if you're not, then what value are you providing to him? Is it just based on sex? Are we saying, well, I'm cute and that's it? Well, I'm sorry, if it's just based on sex, you're going to get old. You're going to have children, and your body is not going to be as desirable to him as it was when you were in your 20s. And that's just the fact. So it's got to be more than just my looks, that I'm cute. Right? Don't get me wrong. It's important for you to stay fit and healthy, just like it is important for men to keep that sexuality healthy in a marriage. However, it's not the only thing. We can't preserve that for eternity, right? We're going to get old. Men get old, women get old. And it's just a part of growing up and living. So what more do you provide this man? If you're putting your worth only in your looks and your sexual value, then what makes you think he's not going to seek sexual value in other women later on? Meaning that marrying a second wife or a third wife or looking around. If that is what you're presenting to him as value, as your greatest asset. Try to deprogram yourself in these expectations. These Instagram lives and these models and these vloggers and lifestyle coaches, and they're trying to present this image, these fairy tale lifestyles of how everything is great. I just wake up, I get to do my yoga in the morning, and I get to I don't know, meditate for an hour a day. I get to, do positivity, and, I'm waiting for the perfect man to come around who deserves me because I only deserve the best, and I'm a queen, and you can't body shame me, and you can't, no, I deserve I'm the princess. No, I'm sorry, girlfriend. You're not the princess, sister. You're not. You're not a princess. You're average like men are average. Unless you're telling, and when you ask these women, what are you? Are you, how would you rate yourself out of 1 to 10? They're going to tell you, oh, I'm like an 8.9. I'm like a 9. I'm like a 8.75. And with no due respect, all due respect, I'm not some kind of, model. You ask me to rate myself, men are very blunt. I'll tell you, I'm a 5, right? I have no problem saying that. But women have these unreal expectations. You understand? And when you say you're a 9, you're like a 9 or 8.9 or 8.5, are you saying you're like on the level of, the top 1% of women in the world today? That you have this value that you can bring to men? And the reality is, if you do self-reflection, you're not. You know that you're not. But yet you're presenting yourself to be, which is delusional. And you're putting that, you're creating expectations based on men who are average. And you're saying, well, men aren't good enough. Men aren't man enough. They can't handle all of this. They can't handle me, right? That's why I'm not getting married, because they just can't handle a boss lady. They can't handle a real woman, right? This is the kind of idea, right? This is the idea, right? So you need to be able to come to reality. And I'm guaranteeing you, men, they may look at, and this is a little bit vulgar, and I hate to be this way, but there are men out there who look at Instagram models and things. They might find them attractive, but those are not men. Those are not women they're going to wife. They're not women they're going to seriously take home as a wife. They want someone who provides value to them. A Muslim man, I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like, these are things that are valuable to them. Those are just, men are visual. It's happened. Allah made it that way for us. It's wrong if they look at them, but that's not like, oh my God, I can't wait to wife that. Right? That's not what they're thinking. So you don't have to be this Instagram model, but you have to try to be fit. Try to present yourself the way that you're supposed to be. Meaning, like, Allah, gave you a body, preserve it. Try to make yourself look good. Coordinate your fashion sense. Present yourself to your husband in a way that's, that you're trying. Show him that you're trying. That's enough. When a man sees a woman is trying for him, he appreciates that. He likes that. You don't need to be. Yeah, you don't need to be like this 10 out of 10 model, right? That's not what a man is always looking for. It's visually, aesthetically pleasing, yes. But a woman that, I would tell you this right now. If I was married to a different woman, I come home, and let's say I had this really hot woman, right, as my wife, right? Beautiful, banging, 10 out of 10. Right? But she does nothing for me all day long. And when I come home, she just complains. I need to buy this. I want to buy a Louis Vuitton purse. I want to take a vacation. Oh my God. Oh, I did nothing. There's no food in the table. That would drive me nuts. I would rather have a woman who's an average looking person like me. I'm an average looking person, but who tries when I get home to make me feel like a king. Right? Meaning that I'll come home, my food is ready. She greets me at the door. She makes me feel loved. She doesn't complain and bother me. Right? These are things that a man will appreciate, will keep him, valuing you. He will value you. And you will be happy with him because he will want to spend on you. He will want to go to the ends of the earth to make sure you're protected and that you're valued. Because he values that. He's getting something from it. But the modern woman will tell you, nah, he's not worth it. He's a broke. I'm not touching that. No, I don't need a man for anything. If he comes, then no problem. Divorce him. No problem. I don't need a man for nothing. And most of these women are in their late 30s, in their 40s, single with no children or maybe single mothers, and they're angry and bitter at men. Go look at TikTok. Go look at YouTube. Go look at all these self-help coaches. They become marriage advisors, and they're advising women to get divorced. This is how bitter they've become. Think about that. They have become bitter in that sense. And it's horrible, right? And this is the reality. I think, we did kind of cover a lot here. There's more to be said, but I don't want to keep this too long. It is a Saturday. It's about to be 9:30. I have to do some other things. I hope you guys like the episode. I know it might bother some people. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think about, right? In any case, because I want to know, I guess, some feedback. Have people join in. It is what it is. But if you're a woman out there, be high value if you want a high value man. right? If you want a high value man, you need to put yourself in the high value man's place and say, listen, what am I offering? That's my end of the wrap up here. If you're going to say, listen, I want a man who's 6'2", I want a man who makes $200,000 a year, I want to have a Mercedes, I want to have 3 children, all of that costs, and he's a high value man. So what are you presenting to him? Put yourself in their shoes. And if you're not that high value woman, or if you can't compliment that, then make sure you humble yourself in your expectations. It's simple. Because the high value men that are out there are Muslim men are 0.00001% of the 1%, right? Because we're already a minority. I guarantee you there's not a lot of men in your life that can say they make $200,000 net as a single earner. Not many men out there that can say that. Not many men will say that. And if they're telling you, they're probably, most likely they're probably lying. Right? And this is just the reality. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying men who don't earn $200,000 are not high value men. They are. I mean, there are many high value men who have that desire, but they don't have the same income that they do, but they still have similar qualities. But are you ready to come down from this fairy tale idea that you're going to have a G-Wagon and 3 kids and a 4,000 square foot home, and you're going to have this husband who has 6'2" and he has abs, and he's going to dedicate all this time to you. We're going to take vacations all the time. What do you think this high value man is doing? Do you think men who are successful have time to just be taking vacations all the time? That you be lounging around in a pool? Do you think that this is what we do? I mean, that we just, we don't think about our next move in business? This is what we're doing? No, men that earn a certain amount of income, I mean, alhamdulillah, I'm blessed with a certain amount of income. We don't have time to be talking about, I'm going to go to Bali for a month and just do nothing. I'm going to take yoga with you in the morning and go to Starbucks and have coffee with you in the morning. No, I have things to do. We have things to do. We're focused. If you think, this is what, successful men do, you're delusional. This is not, these Instagram lifestyles you're talking about are not reality. They're not. And if you want someone who's going to just be a blogger on the internet and a vlogger and making money off other people's income, that's your choice. But me personally, I don't value that lifestyle. I don't think it's manly for someone to live off somebody else's money unless you're providing some kind of service or value, right? I want to make my own money. You understand? Like, I don't want it to be my primary source of income. If you find value and you want to donate to somebody or subscribe, that's cool because you're receiving something as a service. You're benefiting, and that's fine. But there are people who just go out there and just, look at me, I'm drinking Starbucks today. I'm gonna do a spin out a donut in my car. I'm gonna show you my Benz today. This is not valuable. But people are paying. You're living off people's views. I mean, like, you're living off their this clout that you're creating, and this is not normal to me. It's fake. But anyways, that is food for thought. So I hope I didn't offend too many people out there, but I think some of the sisters did agree with this, and they did agree that that there are certain expectations that you have to have. And I would say, on that note, we need to have further conversations. If you like the subject matter and you want me to continue making videos on this particular subject, let me know. Put it in the comments section down below. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll definitely, come up with content, but I think it's important. I think it's important that we do talk about the relationship of men and women, but particularly I think the largest demographics being affected is Muslim women. Right? Is Muslim women today, they're being misled by this modern agenda, and it's going to have a detrimental effect on them, physically, mentally, and spiritually. They're going to end up single and alone, single mothers. They're going to end up alone and bitter towards men. And this is dangerous. And men are going to be unmarried because they can't find suitable women to marry. Right? And this is going to cause them to go into zina or whatever it may be, or just even put off the idea of marriage in general. This is unhealthy, guys. It's not a normal lifestyle. So I think we do need to have more productive conversations, not just this red pillism, not just this anti-feminism or feminism, not any of these things. It needs to be a conversation rooted within our traditions, within our understanding. We have our own unique identity as Muslims. We don't need these other postmodern ideas to tell us how to live. right? So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Before you guys leave, please make sure you smash up that like button. Helps the algorithms. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. As always, I'm gonna try to be, more regular on my schedule. I've been super busy with work. I've started some other things. I've started some other side businesses and things. I'm just really super busy, especially with my family and things. So, 2022 is coming. Plan your life, new goals, new ambitions. Another thing I want to cover with you guys also is how can men increase their net worth, their value, right? Because we don't like to admit this, but men need to earn income in order to be valuable, right? Meaning that if you want to be married, I'm not saying it's your only value, but it's something that we provide, right? We need to. It doesn't matter whether you're a successful doctor or you're a truck driver who owns 10 trucks and he's doing business, but you need to find a way to level up, because you cannot be mediocre. For a man, and this will be a separate video, but for men, Muslim men, to have this mediocre mindset is unacceptable. Unacceptable. To be stagnant is unacceptable, and it is not from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Tawakkul ala Allah. When we do these things, we do the best that we can, and doing the best that you can is not being stagnant, right? That's the reality, right? And so we need to have a conversation about that too later on with the brothers, but that's for a whole different thing. A topic, but I hope maybe you'll join me for that one as well too, inshallah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Anyways, I appreciate you guys as always. It's been a pleasure spending my part of my Saturday evening with you guys. I do appreciate you guys being here. And with that being said, we'll speak to you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Mazibas.